This video gives you the exact 3 Claude skills that I use to train powerful Claude projects. And here's my promise. You'll build Claude projects so reliably that you'll want to share this video and these free Claude skills with your friends. So let's get started. One of the things that I see again and again is where people use one prompt, one shot to build a project or to build a Claude skill. And that's it. What happens is that output is generic or just flat wrong. A lot of times the conclusion is, well, I tried Claude, but it just doesn't really work for me or doesn't really work for my business. Unfortunately, that conclusion's backwards because the wrong approach was made when creating that Claude project. You've probably heard this stat, 95% of AI projects at companies fail. And it's not because AI is weak. Obviously, that's not the case these days, but it's because nobody trained the AI for the job. The AI didn't understand what information it was going to be given and what information it was expected to output. On that point, I would say when I create projects, you want to create projects that have one desired outcome, whether that's writing a blog post or writing a sales email. You're going to build projects that have a tight scope, and the tighter the scope, the better your output. So I want to talk to you about the Diamond Protocol. And the Diamond Protocol is a 3-step process I've been using for probably about a year now. And I haven't seen anything like it that builds better projects. And so this is what I give to my clients whenever they want to close that 95% gap and they want projects that really do what they want. And so we're going to use these 3 Claude skills to build a Claude project that will be extremely powerful and very focused in what it does. All right, so there's 3 steps to the Diamond Protocol. First one is to build one clear prompt. Now let's jump over here to Claude and I'll show you what this looks like. We have 3 skills. 3 skills are going to give us one project. All right, so what we're going to do here is I'm going to start with the first skill. I'm going to go slash, I'm going to type the number 1. And this is what we're looking for. Number 1, Project Diamond Prompt Builder, and I'm going to hit enter. And then I have this really basic prompt here: create a professional sales follow-up email writer project that is persuasive but not sleazy. So I'm going to hit enter and let that run. What it's doing in this first step is it's just creating a better prompt. That is a pretty lame prompt for creating a project. And if I were to create a project with that prompt, it's not going to do very good. The other thing this will do is it will ask us questions. How thorough should the research be? We're just going to do a solid overview. Any specific requirements. Now, again, this is not doing the research yet. This is just a prompt, but it's still asking me about down the line, which will be our next step about the research. Specific requirements, let's say focus on recent information. All right, and so here's our research prompt. Quite a bit larger and more in depth than what we started with, but this is a great way to get started on a better foundation than that small prompt I gave it to begin with. And you can see right down here, it says, want me to adjust the scope, depth, or focus. We could do that if we wanted to. Or if it's ready, say run step 2. So I don't have to go call skill number 2. This skill knows that number 2 is next. So I'm just simply going to say run 2. Except I made a mistake, and I do this all the time. I need to turn on research. If you want deep research turned on, you can turn that on. So we're going to say try again. So we have our research on now. So this finished to about 5 minutes and 46 seconds. We've got 211 resources here that it looked at. Writing persuasive sales follow-up emails without being pushy. That's what I was looking for. What we just finished was the running the real research. So there is one more step, and that is turning it into training. And what we're going to do next is we're going to run this through our 3rd step. I'm going to use this research in a little bit. So I'm going to copy it and I'm just going to drop it into a notepad here as markdown, and we'll come back and use that later. The next thing I want to do is I want to run step 3. So I'm going to say /3, and this is our Project Diamond project instructions. So we've created a prompt, a nice beefy prompt. We've done the research. Now we're going to create project instructions that are going to be detailed And again, they're going to narrow the scope of this project so the output is reliable. Now, that doesn't mean I wouldn't want to tweak it, maybe add my voice into this or that kind of thing. We're not going to get into that in this video, but we're simply going to drop this in here. I'm going to paste this research again, and then I'm going to hit enter. What's going to happen is it's going to look at this research and it's going to start building instructions, but it's also going to walk us through questions that are purposely built into this third step. I want it to ask me questions about what the project's going to do, what the scope is, that kind of thing. And actually at the end, it will ask us, what do we want to call this? So the main goal and scope of the project, I'm going to say number 1, it's just kind of a generic question about scope. What role should Claude take in this project? We're going to say a specialist with deep domain expertise. What output structure works best? Let's do structured but flexible, number 2. What domain knowledge should Claude rely on? The research and findings we just produced is the core knowledge base. Yeah, let's do that. How rigorous should Claude be about accuracy in the drafted emails? Never invent claims, metrics, or case study numbers. Flag placeholders for me to fill in. I like that. Number 1. How should Claude balance conciseness with detail? Let's just say number 1. All right, what tone should the drafted emails carry? Let's say warm and conversational. Number 2. How will this project be used over time? Reused frequently by me, refined as patterns emerge. That's perfect. So number 1. All right, so now this is an open-ended question. Forget the tool for a second. What outcomes are you actually trying to produce? What does a typical input to this project look like? So this is going to be an email to Joe. He has engaged me via a Zoom call to build him an AI project that focuses on his personality, personal beliefs, and his voice is going to be for general writing. I may actually even make it into a skill instead of a project. We're still talking about that. We've met a couple times, and I just want to follow up with him to see if he's still thinking about the project and what the next steps are. What excellence looks like. Show me an example. What outputs would you specifically want this project not to produce? All right, last step. Which function category fits this project? So this gets into the naming part that I talked about. Which project type fits the nature of this work? And then a specific name. So I'm going to call it follow-up email writer. I've used this process that you've just seen for about a year, probably more than a year, actually, maybe pushing a year and a half. And so far, it's the best way that I've seen to build a Claude project around a desired outcome. I've seen a lot of other tutorials and things, and this one just has done the best that I've seen. Like I said before, I'm going to give you all 3 steps free. There's a link in the description to a GitHub where you can download those. Build a project that you want to share and that you want to tell your friends about. All right, so here is the instructions for our project, and you can see they're over here on the right-hand side. So I'm going to copy this, and then I'm going to go back over here. Here's our research. I'm going to go to the top of that research, and I'm going to paste our instructions up here. The way I do this is I will go over to my projects, and I'll hit new project, sales strategy follow-up email writer. I'm going to copy that. I'm going to paste it. I always name it now before I get started because otherwise I'll forget. And then right up here is instructions. I'm going to click that. I'm going to click in there, and I'm going to select all of this. Now remember, all of this includes our project instructions, and it includes the research at the bottom. And you may be saying, wait, Andy, aren't you going to hit some sort of character limit? I haven't yet in over a year. I'm going to paste that in there, and then I'm going to save instructions. Now, this project is ready to go to write an email to Joe. All right, so I went back over in that previous chat and I got the text about Joe. We're going to drop this in here and just hit enter, but it's already generating that email. How's it going, Joe? That is actually a subject line that is not horrible. That is probably the best AI written email that I've seen, and I've written a lot of prompts. I haven't done it like this though. All right, so just to wrap this up, Claude isn't the problem. Training is the missing step. And like I said, I've seen it again and again over a year or more. Now you have the ability to train Claude projects and make them powerful to give you a specific outcome that you want. My name is Andy, and I appreciate you watching this video, and I will see you next time.